All right, my friends, this morning I want to take a little bit of time to talk to you before I head off to work. I want to talk about goals today. Talking about goals is a very popular subject, whether it's on YouTube or a blog or anything else like that. It's something that people like to talk about, and they like to talk about their own goals to others, and who wouldn't? Why wouldn't we? We're very proud of having an ambition, and we're very proud of ourselves for being creative enough and assertive enough to set down a plan and steps to get to where we want to go. And then when we achieve something, it makes you feel good about yourself, and it should. That's what the whole purpose of goals is making something of yourself. But the question I want to ask you today is, how have your goals changed over the course of your life? Okay, how have your goals changed over the course of your life? Because they will. Let's start kind of back at the beginning. Since we're talking about changing over the course of the life, we need to go back to a point in time. When you're a child, you don't so much have goals as you have dreams, right? That's where they really begin. They either dreams. You might view a particular program on television. Like when I was a kid, I used to watch the Wild Wild West, to watch Batman, the Rifleman, all sorts of shows. What's that show with Clint Eastwood in it? The Western. Oh man, I can't remember. I used to love those old Westerns, and I wanted to be a cowboy. I wanted to be a stuntman. I wanted to be a boxer. I wanted to be a cop. I had these dreams. That's how they start. We all have dreams. And then you don't really think in terms of goals as a child unless you have someone tutoring you that speaks in those terms, and then they help you. Like if you're playing a musical instrument, someone teaches you, or if you have aspirations about being a scientist, even as a child, you might be intuitive enough to know that has a natural progression, and someone will be there to tutor you along the way. In those cases, you might have an idea of goals, but generally they start off as dreams. Then, as you get to be in the teenage years, you know that things don't just happen on their own. You have to you have to make them happen. You have to plan them out. And but you're only equipped with so much. You're only armed with so much information. You don't have the maturity to know that life life presents a lot of interruptions. In fact, I would go so far as to say life is made up primarily of interruptions. It's actually defined by the things that get in our way, right? The impediments, and these can be goal killers, but they don't have to be. Okay, but when you're young and you're not attached, you're not married, you don't have kids, you start thinking, here's what I want to be, here's what I want to do, here's where I want to go, and you make these plans, and it works. It works because you don't have as many things tied to you or tying you down. So you begin to move. You kind of move through this portal, and you see yourself progressing, and everything's good. And those are the years to do it, by the way. Those are the years to really buckle down. Teenage years, early 20s, and I'm talking early 20s. You might have in your early 20s, especially. I'm speaking for men here because I cannot speak for women. I don't know exactly how they think, and I don't know what they want. I don't. I've never thought along those lines. So I'm speaking to you men. When you're in your early 20s, you're unstoppable. Your body hasn't broken down yet, so you go, I want to be an athlete. I'm going to make it into the Ultimate Fighter house. I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to build my body. I'm going to I'm gonna compete in a triathlon, the Ironman triathlon, and I'm going to do all sorts of things. I'm going to climb the corporate ladder. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to make lots of money. I'm going to become a millionaire by the time I'm 40 years old. You think that when you're 30, right? Uh, But you have certain kinds of goals, and then what happens is you develop an interest in somebody else, and then you have children, and then life is good. Life is good like that, you know. But your goals have to change along the way. I had them. I know. I not only goals, but I had children, and I wanted to start my own kung fu school. I did that. I did not at school, but I did kung fu for over 10 years, and I loved it. I still miss it, but my goals had to change because I was completely immersed in it. And I'm not saying that just for me it wasn't doable. A lot of guys do it, but for me, where I was, my station in life at that point, I just couldn't do it anymore, and my body was breaking down. That's what happens. That's what happens. Is a lot of things change. Your financial status changes. Your family situation changes. You might discover that you need to take on more education, so you go to school. That takes up your time, gets in the way. You develop other interests, and you think, I want to try that, so you've got to make room for that too. You realize you're not getting enough sleep, so you've got to get more of that. You haven't been eating right, so you've got to change that. And a lot of things start changing things. All these little adjustments change everything. So what happens is you inevitably have to change. But here's what happens a lot of times with people is that they set goals and they just can't imagine life any other way, and they will get what they want at any cost. Well, not everything is worth your goals. I mean, it's not worth achieving your goal if your family has to suffer, if they have to be without you. It's not worth trying to achieve your goal if it's going to hurt you financially, if it's going to ruin you, if it's going to hurt your health. So your goals need to change over time. And I've seen people throughout my life who just don't know how to do that. They don't know how to change their goals. They actually become a slave to them. Now, there's nothing wrong with your goals. There's nothing wrong with achieving what you want. And when you first start off, you can probably get to where you want to go in a lot of cases. But you will need to make adjustments. And sometimes you need to change your goals entirely, reformat, reboot. And if you don't, if it takes some amount of mental, intellectual, and emotional adjustment to be able to do that, because you have to you have to realize that things are going to be different now. But for people who cannot mature and adjust, it's going to be very difficult. And I've seen marriages wrecked. I've seen jobs lost. I've seen people wreck their body. You know, one person I think of is I look at Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman was a very successful bodybuilder, and you look at what some of these guys do. He's known for not just being a great bodybuilder, but being so strong. He would lift and pump more iron than anybody else, but his body took its toll. You know, and look, all you have to do is go onto YouTube and see how it's wrecked his body, almost pretty much destroyed his life. And he's trying to make a comeback, in certain ways, and he's had to change his goals, but he'll never be the same because he couldn't change enough. He couldn't adjust enough. And that's what happens to people. If you go back and look at Ronnie Coleman videos, it's pretty much, encapsulates, it's almost a metaphor for what can happen with any kind of a goal if you become a slave to it. So it's very important to become malleable, to become flexible, to learn to adjust and adapt, and be okay with taking on different goals and different things, because things are going to get in your way a lot as time goes on. You're going to have to adjust, and if you don't, you'll just wreck your life. You'll just wreck your life, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's good to be flexible. That's how you grow old gracefully. And I'm not old, but I will be 51 just here in less than 2 weeks. And so my goals over the course of my life have changed a lot. When it comes to taking care of myself physically, I no longer chase reps. I still have ideas of what I want to do, but I'm not going to hurt myself anymore like I did when I was younger. I'm not going to fool myself into believing that I have to have any one particular thing to be happy. So I changed my goals, and now I'm happier. And um, I now my goals are centered around living a more balanced life. Something I try to achieve things that will take me to where I want to go in the long run. I want to be able to do what I'm doing 50 years from now. Yeah. I want to be able to do what I'm doing 50 years from now. So I'm at 50 years old, I'm laying groundwork for the first time on a lot of things, but I will no longer become a slave to any of them because I don't have time anymore to wreck my life. And neither do you. You never did. You never did. So keep that in mind. Down in the comment section below, put down how your goals have changed over the course of your life. Tell me. Tell me what they are now. Because not only could I learn something from it, but everyone else looking at it could too. Guys, if you haven't liked this video, I appreciate it if you would do so. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Share it with others. And I'll see you on the next one. Be careful out there. Be wise.